Hello and welcome to Into the Halo, a Warrior Nun fan podcast. I'm Kimberly.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sheila. And this is our deep dive discussion into episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Warrior Nun Season 1. So just fair warning, we will be talking about specific things that happened in the episodes as well as different themes. So fair warning that spoilers are ahead in case you have not seen these episodes yet.
And there's a lot to talk about.
A lot.
Just looking at the notes, folks. Just get comfy. But before we do get to some episode specifics and discussions, we'd like to catch you folks up with any news and updates we've seen since our last recording. And the first link we'll have in our show notes, if you haven't seen it, is showrunner Simon Barry did an interview with the folks over at Junkyard Theory. It's a show that's on YouTube, about an hour long. Simon talked a lot about just producing for television, some of the different shows he's done, a little bit about Warrior Nun, but it's a little broad too in the topics. So if you want to learn a little more about creating a TV show and some of the Warrior Nun stuff, I do recommend it. I did enjoy it. And the other item that is definitely newsy news, exciting news, if you didn't see on social media, Instagram and Twitter, Simon posted a photo to announce that as of a couple days before this actual recording here, June the 26th, that they had officially started shooting season 2.
Squeak!
Insert squeak sounds here.
But you know what that means, right? About episodes?
There's always more.
I had to.
I mean, yeah, it's been nice to see he and some of the other crew and a couple of the cast members mentioning they were in Spain or getting ready to, but hearing officially that it was actually shooting, that was definitely a make your day kind of moment.
Yes, we can't wait.
Yeah, so and naturally we started to see some articles, which no bother putting links in the show notes to them because there's several out there that are doing my air quotes, folks. You can't see it. Audio podcast. Speculation on what this will mean for when it might come to Netflix. I mean, best guesses are second, maybe third quarter 2022, but that's all wild speculation at this point.
But you know what the best part of this all means? We're actually getting it.
I thought that's when you were going to insert your soundbite again.
There's always more.
I'll use that button all day, every day.
Yes, we do. We love you for it. So looking forward to getting some more info. If you're not, again, check the link in the show notes. If maybe you're not following Simon on Twitter or Instagram or following the Warrior Nun hashtag, I'm sure we'll start to see stuff from the cast members too. So fun times in the next few weeks.
And with that, I am going to read the title of episode 7. And again, I'm probably going to destroy the pronunciations, so please forgive me. But Ephesians 4:22-24. You were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness.
Whoa. So what does that all mean?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Sheila's going to help us.
Well, I'm going to do a recap of the episode so then we can discuss it on the other side. So after leaving the city of Teresians, Ava is finally accepting that the Halo is part of her, and she willingly goes to Arctech to ask for Jillian's help to figure this all out. Jillian pretends to help, but is really trying to use Ava and the Halo to power the portal instead. That doesn't work, and so Ava leaves to return to the sister warriors. When she gets to the Cat's Cradle, the main OCS members are disbanded or reassigned as Cardinal Duretti continues his plan to basically take over. So he has the nuns loyal to him take over the OCS, and the Ava and the original OCS team, they actually are able to get behind the sanctum in Sister Shannon's room to retrieve the book. And so when they escape, they find out that there is a, quote, secret buried at the heart of the Vatican, end quote. And so in the final scene, we see a figure walking towards the cat's cradle. And we find out it's Sister Lilith. Dun, dun, dun. Cliffhanger.
And if there was ever a cliffhanger dun 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 moment, that was certainly it, wasn't
Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
it? I don't know about you folks, but I had no inkling she was going to make a return.
Kimberly and I were talking about this actually, and we were like, she was a pivotal character before she got, skewered. So I couldn't think of a better word. She was.
That's the term in my notes too.
So
sorry.
You're right. Yeah. So, she had, at least in my mind, I'm like, she had to come back. I just didn't realize that she would come back in that way. Yeah. I don't know how else to articulate that.
I do remember that conversation we had, and I looked at you and said, she'll be back. And you were like, how do you know? And I was like, I read the Bible as a kid, and Lilith is there and is prominent. Mm. And also, again, the connection between all the characters, it's such a rich, developed sisterhood that you really do. She needed to come back. I thought it would be flashbacks. I didn't think she would come back like this. I remember when the two of us just looked at each other like, oh, damn.
Dun, dun, dun.
We're going to need to get Sheila a button to press on.
Yeah, I don't have any technology around, so I have to make my own sound bites.
I'm going to record her doing that and then have it as a button.
That can work too. That can work. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Yeah, and we talked about it. You folks know it if you've watched the whole season, and now obviously I'm going to assume you're at least up to 9. Talk about the story buildup and the pieces. Certainly this one in 7, and then 8 and 9. We're getting so much of it, and it's also great here in this one too. I really appreciated seeing a lot more of Mother Superior, kind of, if you will, in my notes, my mind, kind of coming to our side of the fence. The way she gets after Eddie about Sister Crimson and what I call my notes, the B team coming back.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, actually. I couldn't figure out how to call them.
I literally call them the Devil's Rejects.
Okay.
And a little pun there or homage to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very true. But I mean, between that discussion with him and then when she really talks to Mary, in Sister Shannon's room, and Mary talks about how disappointed she is that Mother just seems to be accepting what Eddie wants. I mean, I really see the turn starting. That was just fascinating. I really appreciate that too.
Yeah, and that whole dialogue where Mary was Shotgun Mary was saying, you're keeping everybody at arm's length, not because you don't care, it's because you care too much. It's showing that Mother Superior really does have several different facets about her, and that she's not just that one-sided she was not very accommodating to Ava, right? Mm-hmm. in the earlier episodes, and then here you see how other people actually do see Mother Superior. And she really is. She cares so much for all of the sister warriors.
Well, it's the whole thing of a facade. If you think about it, the person you present to everyone else is somewhat to protect yourself. And when she's discussing their transfer, she went to bat for Vincent and said, "Look, this is the best I could do. You should be happy about this." And I mean, granted, nobody's happy, but, she at least put her foot down and tried to help. And it's the first time I've seen that character kind of show her inner self, if that makes sense. And just enough, like she's just opening the door and letting a little bit of us, like letting us see a little bit of her. But you can see that she's hesitant still. By the end of the episode, I still don't feel like she's the open book, but it gives me the idea that the cover isn't the book. And I've been judging her this whole time, thinking she's this really stringent nun who is like angry and dismisses Ava out of hand. She's not worthy enough and she's judgmental. And here she is showing that kinder side and showing the real side of her where she isn't. I don't know. I'm rambling, but you get the point. It's like she showed that other side of her, and it's an intriguing beginning.
But I also think too, it's showing us as we start to see more about each of them too, a little bit. At least I find, what are we, 6 episodes in, we start to understand who the characters are. Mm-hmm. And we, at least myself as a viewer, have an idea what I might expect them to do in situations. And we have a situation with her character, like you just described, where we're starting to go, oh, eyebrow raised. Okay, maybe it's not what it appears to be. And there's something starting to shift. And then I find it fascinating and fun to then be looking at the characters and sometimes some of their relationships with each other as the story is now getting really towards a goal, if you will, or towards a point, less individual learning, and now the team much more coming together. So for me, I find it fascinating, and I start to feel myself rooting for the team. Mm-hmm. Because, from there, the parts there where we're getting a little more about Mother Superior to once we eventually get to the point where there's the showdown with Sister Crimson, with everybody in Shannon's room. And again, they're really starting to come together. I just love that. I love this foundational part of this episode, setting a lot up for where we're going.
Right. One of my favorite scenes in this episode was where, we find that Sister Beatrice is being sent to Malaysia, right? And she's surrendering her weapons, and, she's putting it on the table, and Sister Camilla's like, well, you still have something. And then Sister Beatrice goes, oh, right. And then, reaches down on her leg, gets one knife, and then Camilla looks at her again, and then, Beatrice is like, oh, yes, I have another hiding place. Those in that sequence where it's a very painful experience for Sister Beatrice, but then there's that little funny sequence there showing their personalities, and that the dialogue between them, where Camilla is really saying, I wish I could go with you, because she doesn't want to be left alone. And then, even in her pain, Sister Beatrice is saying, quote, a lot of people can smile when things go wrong, but it takes a special person to make everybody else smile with them. Like, I love that line. And it just shows how much Sister Beatrice really is so multidimensional, and that even in her pain, she's still finding a way to comfort someone else.
Yeah, she even goes further in that same conversation, because Camilla was, like you said, she was upset she didn't want to be there anymore without them. And Beatrice was like, why would you want that? And she even says, quote, God sends messages to guide us. Heed them, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And, that to me was like, even in her worst moments, she always thinks of others.
Yep. That's why she's a bad.
That's why so many of us do love her that way. Yes. Yeah. And again, that's the foundational stuff, like I was trying to articulate, that you brought up perfectly there, Sheila, that, that gives us that insight into her, because she's got to be devastated.
Of course. Yeah.
And she tells us as such in different conversations, but still in the moment, she gives Camilla the credit and compliments her on how she's doing, her job. So it's some very telling scenes along with some cool stuff, but it's telling character scenes that are just wonderful and foundational to where we're going to go.
So I got to deviate us, or divert us a bit. Deviate. Cardinal Doretti, when he brings the rejects in, Well, that's what they're called.
Yes.
There's a line he says, and it was, I still to this day, and I've watched it several times now, really wonder if there's more to it, because he says it, but yet the rejects actually violate every aspect of it. And he says piety, loyalty, and service. And yet the rejects themselves, they serve, but who are they really serving? They're serving themselves, in my humble opinion. They're really only loyal to themselves because they want the power and they enjoy it. And we see that throughout the episode with Crimson. And piety, I don't think they abide by that at all. So I'm curious, like, is there more to that? He has to know that bringing these individuals in, that they violate everything that he's talking about.
But it serves his goal.
Yeah, he's got so many things going, as we see in the next couple of episodes, especially, that it just makes sense. He wants, because we talked about how much we enjoyed his conversations with Sister Beatrice, with him trying to basically scope out where her loyalties were, and how she basically said she wasn't loyal to him, but to the church. So he just decided, okay, I need someone, even if they're going to be off their rocker, that can at least get me to what I want to get out of the situation.
See, for me also, after, and I'm going to jump to slightly towards the end of the episode, but it also is a very interesting line, considering at the very end, he says the Pope is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went like, oh, okay. Is that indicative of him? Is that giving us little hints? Because the one thing I have noticed in this rewatch is there are lines that I've missed that I wonder if they mean something for later. And I don't just mean season 1, I mean even season 2.
Well, I was, for me, thinking, and it brings up that discussion there about him and bringing in the rejects, that at that point, one of his biggest concerns is the entire OCS and getting the halo and having that to, if you will, control or wield or something to his benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And so he brought in those folks to do that. And then also the Pope dies. So he's like, okay, now he's moved on to his next bigger power grab.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be even less in control, I think, of the OCS anyway, because he's just looking for opportunity.
So here's a random question, because it just popped into my head and I've got to ask. Say he actually got the halo with the reject group there. Who becomes the bearer?
Well, that's up to the halo.
Well, yeah, true. I was going to say, would the halo not reject those that it considered unworthy? And would these individuals like Crimson, for example, be worthy?
Well, none of them have trained. Granted, Ava hasn't trained, but none of them have really trained to be a bearer. So I don't know that it would work.
Mm.
Well, this conversation, though, we got to tie in what's coming up in a couple of episodes when we find out about Mother Superior.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Put a pin in that one.
So put it.
Yeah. So coming back to that, as far as the halo and its ability to decide what may or may not happen. But yeah, it's funny. I thought the same thing, Sheila, when we were taking a look at, okay, I get him bringing in the B team, the rejects. But yeah, when it came to time, that if they did get the halo back, do you think it's going to, Sister Crimson is going to be, air quotes, worthy?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't see that one going anywhere.
Right.
So, but if Doretta truly doesn't care, then we don't really get to learn anything about some of the other helpers of hers. Who knows? Maybe there's someone in there that isn't quite as bad. But yeah, let's put a pin in that discussion a little later.
So the one scene that I really want to talk about is that fight in Sister Shannon's room,
mm-hmm.
right? Where Ava finally gets into the sanctum. She sees the book, she's reading it, and then Shotgun Mary's outside and fighting with Sister Crimson. And then out of the blue, Sister Beatrice comes in and like kicks Sister Crimson's bleep.
Thank you.
And then Ava says, Beatrice is a bad bleep. I love that because I'm like, yes, Sister Beatrice is a bad bleep.
But she's smart too. That's what I love. Because when she takes the loss to Crimson in the initial encounter, she learns so much from it. That again, her comment about, losing a battle to win a war, or I mean, you can say someone's a bad through physical actions, but she has also got it going on in her ability to look at the whole, shall we say, the chessboard. She's playing chess when Sister Crimson is
playing checkers. Yes.
Yeah, I don't even think she's playing checkers yet, but that's okay. But yes, that was awesome to see. And it was also great to see how Ava, once she realized when Crimson got the drop on Mary by picking up the shotgun, was able to do something to stop her from being, everyone other folks being shot even. I mean, so again, I love the nature of the team and how it's come together, and this fight's a small microcosm of that.
Right.
With Beatrice from what she learned in the previous encounter, to Ava with her powers, being able to keep them safe, and right down to Sister Camilla with the diversion of firing into the ceiling to get them all.
Oh my gosh, that was
out the door.
Yes.
Everybody's getting a moment here to show us why we want them all together to do it.
Yes.
So as a tangent, when they come out of the room, because at that point Ava has blown out her powers and they kind of have to help her up the flight of stairs and out. And then all of the rejects are there with weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Ava grabs the sword and starts giving that speech, all I could think of was it's a Winona Earp moment. What I am is the beep in the air. And then all of a sudden there's just like, she gets shot with an arrow. And I'm like, yep, that's a Winona moment.
It's like, nope, come down to earth there.
And then Camilla going, I really hope I got God's message right. That was just classic.
Hey, you know what? She was heeding that message.
Sure was. Protecting her sisters too.
One other thing that I absolutely loved about this episode, and I know we're really going deep into it because there's so much going on, but we really got a lot of backstory on Jillian. Mm-hmm. Especially in regards to, yes, she was using Ava to power the portal, but we knew why. It wasn't just, the idea of she wanted power and wanted access and all this. She wants to save her son. Mm-hmm. And that brought in a new dimension. She couldn't be this evil, hated person. And she really can't be this evil person. She really is very, very human. And we get to see that side of her in this.
And this episode did such a good job for so many of the characters, like you just described there. The other one, not a deep conversation, but even talking about Christian talking to Ava about why he left the church. And the whole idea of believing in yourself, helping Ava quite a bit, because when she's the one been struggling with what she wants to do and all. So there's just a ton of foundational stuff here for each of these characters and where it's going to go from there. And we also see here, even her son Michael. I mean, he's dropping some lines that are like, oh, this is going to come back later, talking about opening doors and other things, and what's that going to mean? And it's becoming obvious that he's got some, I don't know what you want to call it, some connection, some sight, some premonition. So yeah, there's a lot. There is just a ton happening here.
Yeah, and we find out that Michael actually has bits and pieces of divinium in his blood. So he glows once Ava is near him, because he glows when the halo is near.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of it, there was a question I came across on a Warrior Nun message board that I saw in regards to this specific scene. And I posed it to the two of you, and it's several parts. But at one point, Ava seems surprised that the halo is foreign. not of this world. And the comments were such where, they were intimating that, it's an angel's halo, so it's already foreign. So why was Ava surprised? I pose that to the two of you.
The only thought that occurs to me on that is, again, Ava and her limited knowledge of the bigger picture of all of this. Again, being the quadriplegic, just understanding or having her limited knowledge of the church and so forth, just thinking that an angel's halo would somehow be one of these things that would just naturally be around a church, without thinking that it might have like you said, a much bigger scope outside of that. I only took it as her limited knowledge of things, being surprised by a lot of what's going to happen.
For me, I actually took it as like it was somebody outside of the nuns telling her. So it's more believable when somebody who isn't trying to force you to do something you don't want to do tells you. So I was like, well, maybe that.
I certainly can see that. Yeah.
I have no opinion.
I have to stop with these questions.
I was just thinking that maybe she was just it's in her, so it's hard to fathom or to think because she's too close to it. So that's my opinion. So I lied. I did have an opinion.
Well, we do find, going back to the episode, that Ava does go into that room and she finds a book. And it's all the nuns have signed and left, I guess, little inscriptions.
All the sister warriors. The warrior nuns.
The halo barriers. Barriers? I said barriers. Why am I saying barriers? Wow. It's been a while. I found that fascinating. And also like so cool because you could actually see all different, like there were different handwritings and it looked unique, each one.
Different languages.
Yeah. And then also terrified when they start discussing what Shannon's inscription was. Because then I went, oh, this is going to get real like now.
And just the scope of that, how far back it must go. Again, that's just some of the fascinating stuff that we're going to start to see play out. That's just got to be mind blowing especially for Ava.
You know what I was thinking though? Like, does that book grow then? Because if you think about all of the halo bearers, writing in it, is it going to ever lose, go to the end of the book and end pages?
Maybe season 2 will dwell on the fact or delve. Wow, my words are really not happening today. They'll delve into the fact that there are several books, maybe.
Maybe.
Oh, volume 1, volume 2 kind of thing.
We didn't see the full expanse of that little room.
No, but okay, put a pin in that one. I think it's in the next section or next episode.
Okay, so then I guess I pose the question to you both again. What do you feel the title is in reference to the episode? Silence.
Yeah, contemplation. I mean, I think it can talk for Ava in the sense of, certainly as we're just talking about, getting the book and getting a whole new attitude on things, realizing what's really kind of at play there. And that's what a lot of that is talking about is old self and new attitudes and such. And we saw some of that with Mother Superior. We as viewers have new opinions on her, new attitude on her, certainly from this episode. So I think that can be a good part of it as far as, what's going on.
For me, it kind of felt like every character made a massive decision during this episode where they can no longer go back to where they were. And it kept, in my head, it kept running back to like when you throw a rock in a lake, you don't see it, but the lake is forever changed because the rock settles at the bottom and changes the landscape of the bottom of the lake. So I couldn't get that out of my head.
For me, yeah. For me, something Kevin said actually resonated with me just now. That to be made new in the attitudes of your minds. That line about Ava, although Christian needed to tell her, you have to put faith in yourself, right, and trust those who have earned your trust. So Ava is now starting to trust other people. She's been by herself this whole time, and so it's a very big step for her to start being vulnerable and start trusting other people.
Yes. Because she's been on a journey, goodness, the whole season so far, really, when you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And with that, are we ready to go right into episode 8?
Oh, yeah.
So it is Proverbs 14:1. The wise woman builds her house, but with her own hands the foolish one tears hers down.
Okay, so the recap for this. So Sister Beatrice reads the first entry of the book, and it is revealed that Adriel's bones are buried deep inside the Vatican, and that it is his bones that anchor demons to the earth. So the team concludes that Cardinal Duretti really wants the bones for himself to keep himself in power, and so the team has to stop him. The team goes back to Arctech to ask for Jillian's help because Ava will need to phase through 20 feet of solid rock. And so they find that through this testing, Ava actually needs 7 minutes to recharge once the halo's energy is depleted. Lilith actually joins the team in Arctech, and she and Ava really make amends. And then at the very end of the episode, Ava has a dream about Sister Shannon and has an epiphany that if she can destroy Adriel's bones, then the cycle of the warrior nuns dying, fighting demons, will end because the demons will no longer be anchored to earth. And then she is holding the divinium dagger in her hand and melts it. Dun, dun, dun!
Another great use of that.
Okay, I just have to jump in before we go into the full episode and say Beatrice just adds to her level of awesomeness by speaking how many languages?
Oh my God.
And hold on. And is speaking Latin. And Mary turns around and goes, yay, private education. I was rolling.
That was great.
It really was. It's easy to miss that on the first watch, too. I mean, this is some of the great stuff you get in it. My rewatches are so rich.
Yeah. And I have to put on my rewatches, I really have to put the closed captioning on because even if I'm just like intently watching, I still miss those great lines.
Yeah, that helps so much. I mean, as a viewer, there's so much. I know I miss even something I love like this the first time, even the first couple of times through. So yeah, I mean the aside from getting the great info of Adriel's bones, now maybe a focus of why Duretti is doing what he's doing, and the importance of what that is, and then having Ava come to that epiphany, as you pointed out, to say, wait a minute, time to break the cycle. Otherwise, because all these warrior nuns, kind of do your parallels to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like all the slayers, they're dying young. Okay. I mean, this is just a way to kill them off. What if we choose to do it a different way and a better way? I love that. That was one of those, the little hairs in the back of your neck when you saw her realize that, like, whoa, okay.
Right.
Great stuff.
Because she is also now thinking of the other, sister warriors who are also dying, as part of this mission. In the dream, Sister Shannon was telling her, I watch my family die one by one. So it's not just the warrior, the halo bearers that are dying; it's everybody else around them. So, this is Ava saying, like what you said, Kevin, let's stop this and stop not just killings of halo bearers, but all the nuns around us, our family.
Mm-hmm.
The dream also had me going, wait a minute. If the sort of like the halo takes a little bit of the essence or the memories, I'm curious if we might see dreams involving, and I'll put a pin in it to my future questions, but the idea that we could have possible visitations from other warrior nuns in Ava's dreams that will facilitate guidance. I know I've been in that, Kimberly.
Hadn't gone there. Oh, wow.
We will add that to the list of news.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna have to move on. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot of blinking and silence here. Thinking about that.
So we also know, I'll bring it back, that they've built on top of the tombs, and the original map was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of need to figure it out. And we get to learn just a tidbit more about
Father Vincent.
Father Vincent and his tattoo sleeves.
Yeah, that was a shock to me.
That was. But he's a scary dude when he wants to be.
He's a very bad man. Okay. Now, like we say, why certain people choose to join the church, or in Kristen's case, leave it. I mean, in Father Vincent, like, whoa. Yeah, that never in a million years kind of would I have thought of that.
Yeah, my jaw was like on the floor when that happened. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Yeah, talking about learning more about characters. Wow. That was a lot.
His explanation to Mary is also, discussing how he was basically, he likes violence too much. He likes that life he lived too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that he had hoped that the church would, help him deal with that and everything and make it go away. But he, I guess, has come to the conclusion, and I don't remember the exact wording during that conversation, but that like, even if they rid the world of all evil, that evil will still be in him.
Yeah, he realized that it wasn't a demon telling him what to do or to do the bad things. It was actually him.
And that's got to be scary as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you don't have someone or something else to blame for your choices. And that kind of ties in, to me anyway, more depths, and makes you wonder more about him. The other, at least in my head, slight parallel in this episode to starting to think more about things is the whole idea of Lilith. What is she? Because we're certainly, by this episode, seeing things that tell us she's not totally human anymore.
Yes.
Right? Not just me thinking that, right?
Since episode 7, right, when she appeared, like, where did she come from? Like,
and she appeared out of nowhere. She didn't just walk up she didn't walk up the driveway. She just appeared out of nowhere. She phased in, basically.
Yes. And so, she's hearing these high-pitched sounds, only she can hear them. Like, what happens when that, when she hears that? And even though she does apologize to Ava, right, for trying to kill her, I'm not sure, at least as I was watching this the first time, I wasn't sure if that was real or not.
Do either of you think that it is truly Lilith, but that she's basically just possessed by some demon as well? Or is it a demon who's just totally taken on her form?
I was not thinking that.
Okay.
It was a demon taking on her form.
See, I think it's Lilith, but I do wonder, because they do discuss her memory. Like, they ask what's the last thing she remembers. And we see the flashbacks. Now, this is where I'm like, wait a minute. Because we see the flashbacks. So they're reminding us what happened. Are they just doing that for our benefit? Or is that what she's remembering, but she's lying and saying she doesn't? One way or another, I know she's confused. I know she's got a mission. There's a reason she's there. She might not know she seems very scared. I mean, I'll be honest. I looked at Sheila and I said, what if time passes differently wherever she was? And she had to survive for so long that maybe she mutated because of whatever dimension she was in. And maybe she's the human form of a Tarask. That was my thought. Sheila shushed me.
Well, I mean, near the end of the episode, when she's peeling off some of the scabs of her wound and the wound is glowing,
Mm-hmm.
and the wound almost looks like it's a brand rather than just a wound. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but when we see it at that point, when I kind of pause it and you look at it, rather than just looking like a wound that's healing, it's like, that almost looks like some type of brand or map or something.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, it's helping her heal because she is slowly,
Yeah.
her face is slowly healing. So it's
Yeah.
like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. At a couple of points, we see almost like Ava would from the Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it was you, Sheila, or Kimberly, when one of you mentioned not too long ago about how she seemed confused. It's almost like if she was possessed by something, she'd be lucid and okay and have somewhat full memories, apologize to Ava, realize, her way of going about it was wrong, but then all of a sudden suddenly be taken over by this other entity and therefore have lost time and lost memories.
It's going to be a fascinating reveal.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, there's more to come there. But I thought, to me too, the reason I kind of brought that up now is I saw it as a little bit parallel to Father Vincent in that he's talking about the depths of being evil, truly evil,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just having a demon that made him do the things he did. And maybe that's like with Lilith, that she now is truly evil in a different way because she has the demon that he doesn't have. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
Crazy thoughts.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot going on with Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we really need to discuss
Beatrice?
Ava and Beatrice. Beatrice really, she actually made me cry in this episode.
Very moving. Very
Yeah,
moving.
extremely moving. But to go back, like she again puts the fears of Ava first and is that guide and that helping hand that I guess Ava is not accustomed to having. And when Ava says, it's like I'm solid and the wall is phasing around me, Beatrice offers to guide her through. And then Jillian offers the GPS and the earpieces so that they can talk to each other and she can follow where she is and say, hey, just keep going. You got this. And be that voice, that calming voice. And when Ava continues to have issues, I'll let Sheila take it from here, but Beatrice really blew me away.
Are we talking about when she read from the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you and I were crying our eyes out.
Oh my goodness. Yes. And as I was doing the rewatch for this, it really, she wasn't coming out and saying that she is gay, but as I am watching it again, it does seem like she is relating to Sister Melanie, who was writing that entry in the book. That, she was talking about hating herself because Sister Melanie, was different, and that everybody else around her was trying to make her something that she's not. And so Sister Beatrice really does relate to that. Absolutely. And, as she's reading it, she's crying because it's like it's her own thoughts that she does not want to say. And she's reading it from someone else feeling the exact same thing. And the thing that really got me was when she read that line, when she said that when Sister Melanie said, when she released the energy of the halo and basically killed everybody and blew out a wall, that, she felt unbound, unburdened, and finally herself. And you could see in Sister Beatrice how much she wants to be free, that she wants to be herself. And even now I get emotional because I'm like, oh my God, why is it wrong?
It's not. I mean, and Beatrice also saying, that she was raised to believe it was a flaw. She was punished for being different and hate what you are. Which I think she says something about hating what you are and what you love when what you love should make you happy.
Yeah.
And that really struck me so much. And I absolutely understand that. Obviously, listening audience, Sheila and I are married. So we both kind of know what that feels like to have that that fear, that hiding and trying to perfect some other aspect of you to cover that and believing that's wrong. And the writing to have Ava, and I'm going to quote what it is because the line kind of broke me because it was a line that I was blessed to have said to me in a different form, obviously. And I was very, very lucky that I had that accepting side of family, where Ava goes, "Don't hate what you are. What you are is beautiful, and I'm sorry for your pain."
And then Beatrice deflects and said, "Don't be, because now we're going to focus on your pain."
Yeah. But that was one hell of a section. And I'm thankful that it was there. I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. It was a very beautiful scene.
Yeah, watching the two of them and their exchanges, both in that scene and then in the future. One, Beatrice being there for Ava as she's panicking in the concrete and actually physically catching her when she falls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see it. The caring, and as you said too, though, Beatrice always trying to take something, and even something not that personal, but still finding a way to give to Ava in the situation, talking about her pain, how to help her with the halo. That's again Beatrice the bad.
Yes. She is awesome.
In many, many different ways.
Okay, I'm fine now.
You sure?
I'm good.
Okay. So I'm going to just jump to since, Sheila and I had to wipe tears and deal with that for a second. One of the cute moments for me was when Lilith and Ava are outside and they have their conversation and, Lilith is like, "Forgive me." And Ava's like, "I just did." And basically they're both really happy. Both of them are not dead anymore. That's just great writing.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I'm speaking for myself. First time through, I didn't really get how perfect that line is. It's a rewatch one where, oh, wow. Yes. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
And that's why when it comes to Lilith, again, that's a beautiful moment that I feel as a viewer that she's in that moment and appreciating the conversation. And then at other times she's like, "Hello," I'm like, "Come back to us. You're not really there."
The one thing that I was struck with, shifting gears a little bit, during the dream that Ava had about Sister Shannon, where Sister Shannon actually was saying, the halo is a burden that, not one person can really handle carrying it, and that she felt alone. But it was also because of the halo that she found a family. And I just love that line, that even though, she alone can bear the halo, she has the support system. And so, again, it goes back to Ava being able to trust other people to help her through this journey and to trust others and open up to them, which she is, really doing with Beatrice.
Yeah, I mean, when they have that, when they're discussing her worst fear and getting through it, and they're discussing that wall, and she keeps, which I find it fascinating to see Ava going through the wall, that perspective of, because it gave me a very weird claustrophobic feel, and I don't know if that was what they were going for, but I loved that perspective. She kept saying like the wall was her deepest pain, it drains the halo, she's paralyzed again. But the reality is, that's what I believe Beatrice actually says, that, you're afraid of being paralyzed again. And Ava's like, no, it's being alone, sick in a bed. And it's Beatrice who says, you're never going to be alone again. We have you. You always have us. And that does go to Shannon's point that, the Halen, I am really screwing up. The halo might be a burden, but really the family, that chosen family you get from it, it
helps you get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the growth that's happening here, between the relationships and the characters here is just wonderful to watch. And certainly on the rewatch, you kind of see, and a good bit of it's going to kind of happen again. It feels so natural, and you got to give them credit when Mary did the great job a couple episodes back, going to see Ava, and again them realizing she has to make the choice to come back for herself. She has to do that. We can't force her back. And therefore the natural nature of how they all came together and how the different relationships between them, we're seeing it naturally happen. It's just exciting.
Yes.
And Vincent finds the map and know where the tomb is.
He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
I do not want to be on his bad side.
No, not at all.
So I guess it's time for my question. What do you think the title reference is in this episode?
Sheila?
Okay, I'll go first. I think this is referencing Ava. But it could reference, just really anybody. That building your house it's really the family around you, right? That if you have people that you trust, that you will never be alone. You'll always have a home. And if you don't take care of that, if you don't take care of the relationships, then you will inevitably end up alone and tear down your home. That's what I think.
Very well put. Very well put.
Because I can actually understand what the thing is saying. Unlike episode 7, like, wait, what? I had to read it several times.
Yeah, like you said, if this is referencing Ava specifically, then very much here she is building her house, her family around her. She's choosing to build something rather than be the old Ava of just run away, and therefore everything collapses. There's nothing there.
So I had written something else in my notes, but something just kind of struck me. Is Ava both parts of this? Because yes, she's building up her house, but then by the end of the episode, she's tearing it down with her own hands, saying she wants to destroy the bones so there are no more warrior nuns.
Well, so that they don't have to fight any more demons.
But is it a foolish decision? Because Jillian is expecting the bones to power the portal. It traps demons here. So while she's building up her house, has that dream, and again, don't know if it's actually Shannon or if it's maybe the Divinium or the Halo preying on her fears, bringing Shannon in. We don't know that per se. Could it be that Ava is both sides of this coin? She's building and destroying.
Definitely could be. Yes. Excellent observation.
Are you waiting for my answer?
That was kind of.
Yeah, I have a different opinion on it. I think that she's actually trying to protect her house by destroying the bones, so that they don't lose any more lives to this cause. So if there are no demons, then they don't have to fight. And just because they don't have that anymore, like Sister Beatrice said, whatever happens, you still have us.
And you know what I have to say to all of that?
There's always more.
Of course there is.
So ending that, I'm going to jump right into episode 9. If there's nothing else you guys want to bring up?
Nope.
Okay. So 2 Corinthians 10:4. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds.
Okay. So in this episode, the team, except for Lilith, travels to the Vatican on their mission to find and destroy Adriel's bones. They manage to dodge Duretti's nuns, or rejects, as we're calling them, as well as the Vatican guards. Lilith seems to have incorporated some of the Tarrasque's powers and is able to heal herself and phase into different places. Oh, it's in this episode. Sorry. I thought it was in the previous one. Anyway, so when Ava is close to the tomb, Lilith actually phases out and goes to the Vatican to try to stop Ava. And she says, quote, the halo cannot enter the tomb. So anyway, Ava is able to enter the tomb despite that. And she finds skeletons made of divinium in the rock. So she goes around it. She struggles to get to the other side and eventually makes it. And once in the tomb, she doesn't find any bones. She finds herself face to face with a living, breathing Adriel. Eek, 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 eek.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my goodness.
And you know what we learned from the previous episode in regards to this?
There's always more.
Oh my Lord, is there a lot more?
Okay, so where do we start?
Okay. Show of hands. Who thought Adriel was still alive? Show of hands. Nobody.
Nobody. Yeah, no
Nobody.
idea. So before we get into that, though, Ava dressed as a nun and going to that
great.
hysterical, and then going to the girl, the little girl, and doing the signs of the cross. And I think it was Beatrice that went too much, went too far.
Yes, that was one of the funniest bits from the trailer. I will never forget that from the trailer. That's a big part of where I went, oh, I am so in on this show. I can tell right now.
Yeah.
I also love in this episode, small things, so I'll get out of the way early. I love the hero walk as they're all going down the hallway.
Yes!
Oh my God.
I
Yes.
absolutely love that part.
Musical like montage as they're written.
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was cool.
I liked when, she was fidgeting and I think it was Beatrice actually who said, stop fidgeting. Nuns don't fidget.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something like, it's a habit. I'm in a habit or something like that. And then Shotgun Mary said, I'm going to shoot you right here. Like, yes.
Yeah, her pun game is like 100% on this episode.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of pun games, just let's cover that. The puns in the tomb.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
the two of them back and forth.
Mhm.
The relationship between Beatrice and Ava is one of my favorites because of the way they play off each other. And that pun game back and forth was just, I loved it so much.
It was such a great way to break the tension of the moment, both for them as characters, I think, and for us as viewers, because by this point we're like, oh my God, they're actually there. What's going to happen?
Right. And I think it's such a great, we were talking about Beatrice wants to, let loose and, just let things go. And here it seems like through Ava's help, she starts doing the puns, right?
Well, if trading terrible puns is wrong, I don't want to be right.
That is great. But she's starting to relax a little bit and have that easygoing relationship with Ava, and it was just great to see.
And another part that I think is so important to their relationship that's now developed so much is when they are heading in and Ava realizes how much extra explosive she has. That could have been a real, shall we say, bummer, or that can break a relationship, I think, because to that point, Ava has been slowly trusting and so forth. And then to find out she's got that extra amount just in case, Ava blew the coop.
Right.
But the way that Beatrice presents it to her, not in a down way, not in a we didn't trust you, not that I don't completely trust you now, but we've got to be prepared. I had to be prepared. So that's again the badass Beatrice still supporting her friend, but also taking care of the mission.
Yes.
Staying on task.
Being very strategic.
Strategic, good word. But I mean, that exchange could have gone south, I think. And to Ava's credit now that I think she's built to here, instead of her just getting upset, she's like, okay, all right. You know what I'm saying? So I think certainly my early viewings of it, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now, having watched so much of what's built, especially the last couple of episodes of these two, but up till now. So another one of those, okay, I get it.
So delving in a little bit, Mother Superior.
Yes. Pin, come back.
Yeah. And we learned something pretty heavy about her.
Mm-hmm.
The Halo rejected her.
Mm-hmm.
And her statement was, not all candidates are worthy, but you are, to Ava.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge turning point for me in viewing that character.
Yeah, we just see another facet to her. Just like what Shotgun Mary was saying, you do care. She finally is accepting that Ava, even though she wasn't the quote perfect candidate, is exactly what the Halo needed.
And then my mind starts going and gets fascinated with this. Okay, let's back up the bus. She had the Halo. It rejected her, but she still chose in her commitment to be training all of these years, because I'm assuming she was rejected many years ago, and she was more of the age of most of the candidates. Mm-hmm. Now that could totally, talk about something that could mess with your head and create some of that distancing, like you said, Sheila, Mary talking to her about it. But it's only on the surface because she cares. Mm-hmm. So for her to be able to deal with that loss or impact of that and still be there to support these folks, that is just, I'd love a Mother Superior spinoff to get some more about what all would have gone on with her.
Yeah. And clearly it still upsets her, right? Ava doesn't see it, but we do, right? Because of how the scene is shot. But you could see in Mother Superior's face that it still hurts her to know that the Halo rejected her. And, it's, like you said, Kevin, it just speaks to her conviction and that, she believes so much in this mission that she stayed.
Yeah, and the more I thought about that, more I could just think like, if that happened to me or to many people, it would be like, okay, done, see you, out. Check, please. But with that much pain, as you said, still occurring today, but to be able to put that to the side for the sake of the mission or the sake of the team and all of them, yeah, that's fascinating stuff. That really is something. Because, I was a pump your fist in the air moment too, when she was the one to kind of give it to Crimson a bit.
Yes.
And run interference for the sake of giving Ava and Beatrice. That was like, oh yeah, okay, I want to see more of this.
So shall we talk about Lilith growing long nails?
Yes, please do. I want someone else to start.
So we know that Lilith actually is, she was left behind because the team wanted her to rest and to heal. But, as this really freaked me out when I saw that, when Lilith was no longer, convalescing, she was actually up and about, and she had nails that looked like the Tarrasque claws.
And she didn't even realize that was happening, did she? That's the way I interpreted it in that hallway scene. They came out, it was there, and she looked over and went, "What is this?"
Right. She was like, "Oh, wait, what?" And
Yeah.
and it seemed like she knew exactly where she was going. I didn't know where she was going until, Jillian was like, "Michael." So, she runs towards Michael, and Lilith is there. And that's where she phases out when Michael is saying Ava's close to the tomb. So that scene to me, as we were talking about the last episode, I did not know. I did not know if it was the question that you posed, Kevin, whether it was the Tarask in Lilith's form. I was just thinking that, okay, she has incorporated some of the Tarask's powers, and the fact that she can transport herself somewhere else was just that far away, was to me was mind-blowing.
One of the things that struck me with that scene, I apologize for cutting you off, Kevin, when she does grow her nails and she tries to, she's getting to stop Ava or whatever, and she comes across Crimson and she grows her nails and just takes Crimson out. Lilith looks remorseful. It was as if there was a switch, and she grew the nails, and obviously they're important because they look like the Tarask's claws, like you said, and they focused on her hand. And next thing you know, she's killing Crimson. And then it's like the switch flips back and it becomes Lilith again. And she looks down like, what have I done? But she still has a goal. She doesn't know why she has this goal. And, when we see her later, when she's trying to stop Ava, she's fighting Ava. And she's like, you can't go in, but she can't explain it.
Right. And they think that, it's that old grudge again. Yeah.
And Mary gets through to her and says, you're one of us. We love you and don't do this. And she then calms down. But that's why I don't even know if Lilith knows what Lilith is.
So let me, on that point, ask the two of you. Is she a good witch or a bad witch?
I can't figure it out at this point.
That's what I'm not sure of.
Can I cheat and say I think she's human? I think if the Tarasks are bad, which we don't really know much about them, if they are truly purely evil, by mixing with a human, I don't think she can be purely evil, because she has a good side to her human side. So even if you take a demon that is purely evil and shove it or possess it or make part of it into Lilith, she would still be somewhat human, and there is some good there. So I would say she's 50-50 and could have good and bad moments. Kind of like Oz from Buffy, when in a werewolf kind of was like eat and, do whatever he wants to do, harm whoever he wants to harm if he wasn't caged. But when he was Oz, he was just a really cool guy trying to help everybody.
For me, what's most fascinating, certainly at this point, is that I can't really tell. So to me, it's such a great story element, such a great job of writing and putting it there. Yeah, we could talk on this point for an hour.
Yes, we can.
Should we add that to our list?
Yeah, I think we may need to if it's not already on it.
So here's another random that stuck with me towards the end of this episode, was that the Tarask skeleton being Divinium. When Ava asked Beatrice about it, Beatrice says, no, the only Divinium we have is the armor. We melt it down for our ammo tips. She's rattling off all the stuff they use it for. And yet here's a Tarask made of Divinium. And Beatrice surmises that it's an organic source. So now you got a question, wait a minute. Are the Tarask just heated Divinium? Overheated Divinium? Where's that going to play?
Yeah, that's the way I took that, is that is where Divinium comes from, that's their skeletal foundation. And that normally the Tarask don't die or expire here on our realm, our plane. That's why there's so little of it here on Earth.
So how did he make his armor?
by killing a Tarask.
Which explains a lot about Adriel, doesn't it?
That's where my head's going. That's all I'm saying. This is the breadcrumbs that I'm following. That's where my head went on this. Because I got to admit again, first time through the series, saw the Tarask in the wall, Divinium. Oh, interesting. And then it totally went out of my head by the time we had the reveal of her finding, Adriel inside. But now coming back and going through like, oh, that might be why, it's so hard to find. And it's got such special properties. So yeah, that was fascinating. So another one with the ... because we need more.
So we can add that to our discussion list too.
There's just so much going on and so much development. If there was not a season 2, just after seeing these first 9 episodes, I would be like
devastated.
Yeah.
I remember, folks, and it's out there. I could probably find the link for you. One of the other podcasts that I do and have done for many years is called Tuning into Sci-Fi TV. My friends Brent and Wendy and I have been doing it for like 13 years, just talking about all the sci-fi shows. When I discussed the season finale for that podcast, and we had not heard about a season 2, I said, right now I am of two minds. If they bring this back, this is an awesome show and I can't wait to see it. And I compliment them for such good writing. But if they don't, I'm going to hate them forever because there's so much open-ended things that I have to know more about that it would have been just gut-wrenching. So, yeah, so the ability for those of you who might be totally new to the show to know that there was a season 2 by the time, because we still got another whole mega episode to discuss. So,
yeah.
It's, wow.
There's so many tendrils where you can literally, every single one of them could have their own set and arc of episodes. Up to this point, there are so many tendrils out there that I can see either be spin-offs or have separate arcs. I mean, they could go 24 episodes and I'd be okay with it.
Especially if they do it on Beatrice. Just saying.
Especially if it's on Netflix, so I can just get to the next episode.
Yeah, this is the kind of show that if it was airing once a week, that's painful. That's going to be painful. Painful, but also great because you can talk about a lot of it while it's happening. But if you're a podcaster, there is then going to be a record of how wrong you're likely going to be on a lot of this.
That's true.
And that's probably coming for us the rest of 2021 when we start to discuss some of these topics before season 2. Because once season 2 comes, a lot of that might go poof up the chimney.
Well, that's half the fun of it.
It is. We're willing to do that, but it's because it's so much fun to talk about. And another one of these tendrils, if it isn't already on your list, your mega list, Kimberly, because Sheila mentioned it very quickly, was back at the Arctech when, Michael has that exchange with Lilith and Julian. And Michael's one saying, oh, yeah, Ava's almost to the door. How does he know that? Okay. She'll have it open soon. How do you know that?
Well, what's funny is Sheila and I actually had a conversation. I remember this because we usually would stop an episode, and if it wasn't like a major like cliffhanger section, we would talk about it for a few minutes. And I just looked at her and I went, wow, I guess all the divinium through the blood has connected him to the bones somehow. And she just looks at me. She's like, will you shut up?
Okay. I can see that. It's just, okay, I need more.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah. I mean, he's got all of the divinium in him. So I guess it's all connected, but connected in a way that a child can understand or see where Ava, I don't know, but and you mentioned it too, Sheila, because at that moment when Lilith finds this out, she literally said that can't happen, and then poof, phases out, and then poof, phases in over at the Vatican. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's some kind of connection there too, to know where to go. Well, not that you wouldn't know where they were, but to be able to, manifest that.
Pinpoint exactly where it took them forever to try to even find where this tomb is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And another random question in regards to Michael and Jillian. How do they know that the dimension on the other side of that portal has like no pain and is perfect.
Well, and that's definitely a topic because, that's where this is a great conversation too. And you pointed out earlier, Jillian isn't just some, tech person who's grabbing for glory. She's concerned about her son. So, and any of us who are parents certainly know, and most other folks can feel it as well, is you can get such tunnel vision on, I need a miracle for my child. This must be it. Mm-hmm. Do I need any evidence? No, I just believe this is it. So that's probably why this is the idea. She's just seeing this potential other plane. Must be heaven, must be everybody lives forever and no one dies, because there can't be any evidence, right?
Right.
It's got to just be belief.
But Michael alludes to it, doesn't he?
How so?
And forgive my ignorance, but I think in there, like, and I don't know if it's because Jillian has told him, or again, if he has that weird connection, because he says, I think when they were discussing with Ava coming down and she says, I'm sorry I couldn't power. And he's like, it's okay. You make me feel better when you're here. And they discuss what's on the other side. And he's like, I'm going to go there and I'll be okay. And I wonder I don't know where he's getting that from, if it's Jillian or this weird thing that he's got going on.
Yeah, that would be a fascinating part to learn. You're right. Has he just been programmed? I shouldn't say programmed. Has he just been picking up on his mother's belief? Or is this another one of those, he got a peek and he knows what's there?
Creepy.
Creepy, fascinating, scary. All of the above.
It's like those kids in the hallway of The Shining.
Oh, that's okay. Now we're going to start crossing universes.
I'm just saying, it's like that kind of creepy to me, where it's like, you're so creeped out by them being there, but you're so fascinated by what it means and where the story's going.
Cover your eyes, but move your fingers just enough to see what's actually going on.
Yep.
Can't look away.
So here's my question again.
Go. Okay.
How does the title?
I'm scared.
And I know. No, it's the mundane question I ask at the end of every episode we cover.
Oh, okay. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, no, not one of my.
We had another rabbit hole.
No, not my 7-part questions, which is going to have to be a video live thing. Sheila, want to start us off?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask.
I did ask.
Oh, you did ask. I missed that. I was taking this as just exactly what it says, that the weapons that they're fighting with are not of this world. They're using divinium, they're using all of the elements that make this a genre show. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, this one seemed pretty literal, at least to my interpretation of it too. I mean, because to me, part of this too is when they say, not the weapon, can't talk now, my turn. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. I see the discovery of Adriel being alive in there as part of that. He's not of this world. Or at least I don't think he is, based on where we're at this point. So that's also part of it as well, because they were expecting bones. And so this, do the whole little gif of head exploding, like, okay, now what could this mean?
I'm so way off then.
Or ahead of us.
Well, I interpreted it as weapons are not of this world, and that to mean what we create with guns and arrow tips and all this other stuff, that isn't the battle. The battle is internal. And I thought it was like the battle within yourself, to overcome your fears, to overcome the obstacles within yourself, being able to go through that 20 feet of wall. Ava going, team player, trust your team, trust your team, trust your team. Mother Superior showing up and helping, facing and using, facing those fears and using your internal strength and your internal power, and working as one becomes the destroyer and that like superpower thing.
Well, mic drop there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm just going to tip the hat. Totally different way of looking at it, but certainly a very possible way as well. Excellent observation. Yeah, because that's a lot of what's happening. Just thinking back through the things that occurred in this episode with that in mind. I totally see where you're coming at there, Kimberly. Very good. Very good.
Thank you. It's not a question that we can add to the list, though.
Well, don't worry. We have plenty of other things on that list.
Yeah, I keep adding. I'm sorry.
No, and we still got a season finale to add to it once we.
Series? Man, stop that.
My mind, you've taken and blown my mind, so the wrong words are coming out. Yeah, so this was a lot. This set, when we looked at how we're going to discuss episodes and sets, we definitely knew doing 7, 8, 9 together was ambitious. Based on the length of this podcast, you can see why.
Yeah, and it was really a massive roller coaster if you think about it, because emotion-wise, we were all over the place. Between crying and cheering and giggling and then going, like, at the end going, what? Really, the gamut was covered.
But that makes it such a great ride.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the excitement, I think, coming back on rewatch and, to be able to make notes and talk about this is just the excitement of what's happening in these last few and the next one.
Yes, I can't wait for the next one.
Yep.
I'm just going to point out that there were certain things in the next one that while we were sitting on the couch watching, I happened to say before they happened, and Sheila smacked me.
Okay, we're gonna need cliff notes when we talk about this next time.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot. And for those of you, I'll say it now without being spoilery, for those of you that are new to the show and haven't watched the finale yet, just remember, those of us who did before we heard about season 2 were left with that to dangle on.
Pins and needles.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I felt at that moment?
There's always more.
Was not accurate.
Yeah. Wow. So if you've made it through to this point of the podcast, congrats. You were probably just as far down the rabbit holes as the three of us are if you're still listening. Because, yeah, as you can tell, there's a lot of different ways we could go. Great discussion, though. Thank you. Great discussion. I love that I learned new things, and now makes me want to rewatch it again.
Right? Oh.
Yeah, but there's episode 10.
No, I'm not doing that until I watch 10. Then I'll probably need to go back and watch it again.
Okay, that's different. I'm like, don't rewatch him again.
No, I said I wanted to. I'm not going to. I shall hold some restraint there.
Okay.
So any other thoughts before we wrap?
You really want me to keep going?
No, I think we're good.
That apply in this timeline, let's say, okay?
I think that was plenty to chew on.
Yes, I would agree.
I can always come up with more.
I know you can.
I know. We know that. And we're looking forward to it. So on that note, again, thank you folks for listening. We're having a blast doing these, as you can tell, and we can't wait to talk about 10 and then be able to start going down through that list and having separate episodes, be they live hangouts, more podcasts in the coming months. We still have quite a while we're going to get season 2 airing, as you heard. So we will not be want for topics, so that's a wonderful thing. Well, we hope you all take care, and we will catch you all soon.
If you'd like to contact us here at Into the Halo, we offer a few different options. You can send us an email at intothehalopodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at WarriorNunPod. If you prefer to leave us a voicemail, please go to speakpipe.com/intothehalopodcast, where you can leave us your 90-second message. We'll have all this information and much more on our website, WarriorNunPodcast.com, and in every episode's description. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.